Move and you're dead. This episode is very... very blunt title.
Blimey.
This episode is probably the main episode that showcases Alan's recreational racing talents. It shows him in... where is it about? I think it's somewhere...
place in Mexico. Well, I think he's doing the actual race in America, but where it all happens is in Mexico. I think it's called San Miguel.
San Miguel, like the beer.
Yeah, they're over a ridge called the San Miguel River, and so I'm guessing, is that like a river of beer or something there?
There's not a San Miguel far from a Spaniard.
Either Jerry Anderson never drank San Miguel or it wasn't around in the 60s, so we digress.
But anyway, the episode opens up immediately in media res, and most of the episode is told through flashback. It's got Alan Tracy and Grandma stuck on this bridge over the San Miguel River, and a couple of jealous rivals of Alan have stolen his car and left him and Grandma Tracy up on the bridge. And they've put a bomb underneath the bridge that's set to go off in a couple of hours. But the main problem is that they've also put an ultrasonic sensor right next to the two while they're up there on the bridge, hanging on for dear life. If they move at all, if any sudden movements are detected by this ultrasonic device, then it'll blow up earlier.
But it doesn't seem like to be an incredibly strong sensor, because Alan is just able to simply raise up his arm just so he can use his Skype watch or whatever it is, so he can call in to Jeff Tracy, and that is how the entire episode is told. It's told in flashback. So Jeff dispatches Virgil and Scott to go out and save him, whereas Alan has to explain the whole story to Jeff and Tintin. So
yeah,
it's nice.
It's a method to kind of keep him talking, because they're up over the bridge. It's noon, so the sun is like at the highest point in the sky, and it's got the sun's beating down, and he's just about to pass out. So he's there, and he's got to keep himself thinking and talking. So the best thing you can come up with is just to tell the entire story to Jeff, and yeah, the whole thing is just told in flashback.
It's lovely, the intensity as well, with all the creativity and the detail that's gone into it, because you can see all the sweat on Alan's face, and Grandma even passes out at one point.
Yeah. So going into the flashbacks, we see that Alan is a rather accomplished racing driver. He's been doing it for a while, but apparently he retired so that he could focus on his international rescue work, apparently. But, for some reason, I think it's because Brains has designed this brand new car with this awesome engine that can cope really well under stress. He decides, screw it, goes to San Miguel to take part in a race so that he can win all this prize money. In the end, he gives it to charity when he wins. Of course he wins, he's Alan fucking Tracy, the best driver in the world.
And astronaut.
But, he catches the unwanted attention of two rivals who had their eyes on this massive prize money, until Alan comes along and takes it from them by winning. And so these guys, obviously, bent on revenge, take captive of Alan as he picks up Grandma, and, drive him out onto the bridge. And not only do they make off with his car, but they leave him and Grandma in that terrifying predicament.
Yeah, these guys are they're a very odd bunch. I mean, the idea is that they originally were going to win the prize money, or they'd rigged the race or something, and then Alan suddenly came back saying he'd making a comeback with this brand new car and this new engine that's been designed by Brains that's all kept a secret. So they're pretty much angry, and so they want to stop him, and hence why he's won the race. They decide to go after him, and these guys heavily reminded me of the villains you see in the video To Take On Me by Aha. Fantastic video, and it's just like some racing drivers. They beat a guy up with a wrench just like the guys in Take On Me, so I pretty much had that song in my head for most of the time. There's another interesting bit of technology that Anderson seemed to have anticipated here, and it's, if you're a member of a private members club where there is meant to be a car park, it's not going to be a car park in the future, it's going to be a car stack. Because you see Alan driving the car in, and this guy has to operate this entire strange mechanism that seems to take forever to put something in place, like it's stacking books on a shelf.
It's like a massive forklift that grabs the car up and then, literally just goes to all these different shelves and puts the car in one of them. It is like a massive bookcase for cars.
And when they try and steal the car off him, these two guys, who have to be completely brainless, they don't even know what to do.
And they, because the guys, they want the car because it's won the race, and they're like, what's this car? How is it? It's like a supercar almost. No, Jerry Anderson, pun intended there. But, but they're there with the forklift, and they're like, I'm not used to the controls. And so it gets to a point where they're very slowly knocking a car off the... But rather than logic would tell you to pull back in the opposite direction, and it just shows me going, like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know how to control it. What am I doing? And then it's still pushing the car. You would think, pull it backwards, mate. It's not rocket science, it's a forklift.
Yeah,
they're trying to kill him with a forklift.
It's going to arouse so much suspicion, and you're going to destroy something. It's going to cause so much collateral damage. I mean, what if that was your car for a start?
Yeah.
Oh dear me, some people just never cease to amaze. And then it cuts back to the present date where they've left Alan and their grandma fearing for their lives atop the beam over the San Miguel River, and Virgil is flying along in Thunderbird 2 with Brains, and Brains has brought along this new kind of technology that just knows how to neutralise a bomb.
Yeah, it's left entirely up to Brains to figure out how to neutralise the ultrasonic device that's on the beam with Grandma and Alan. And he has this big satellite dish which he just points at it and then boom, manages to neutralise it. But I think the most interesting thing to come out of the pod wasn't that, but the vehicle that Virgil uses to get him down. Now, the thing with Jerry Anderson is he, because we're in the future, it can't just be, let's get a net or something to catch Alan when he falls down. No, it's got to be something futuristic. It's got to be a massive vacuum air propulsion thingy, like, those centres you go to when you go skydiving. It's got to be one of those on a car.
It's kind of like a mini decompression chamber, except it's out in mid-air, so you just see Alan briefly just flopping over, and so he falls down, and next minute you see him just being suspended in mid-air, and you can pretty much tell, he's on strings or so, and he's just flying there motionless until Virgil lets him down, and then Grandma does the same in a sense that reminds so much of Mary Poppins.
She comes down, she's got the hat, because it's Grandma, of course, the peak effect, she's got like the hat on with the flowers, and she just looks like a drunken Mary Poppins, just like...
Yes.
It's a cool device and everything, but a ladder would have sufficed. Just gone up there and go. But no, it's got to be something exciting and futuristic, so, massive air propulsion thingy.
And all that happens just before the bridge explodes, so an entire, suspension bridge is destroyed by these two guys who just wanted a load of money. But then we get the most interesting part of the episode, which is when Scott uses Thunderbird 1 to chase down these bastards who've stolen the car, and interestingly the guy says, I can't get used to all these gears.
I can't get used to this geared steering.
If you didn't know, American cars are all automatic, so British cars have gears.
Yeah, if there are any Americans watching, you probably never heard of driving stick. Well, you may have, but probably not. And, it's, it'll save you... all Americans watching, drive stick. It'll keep you focused on driving, and it'll save you fuel, so,
And this is also one of the first places where we see that Thunderbird 1 has a built-in machine gun that actually destroys the car. It ends up flying off a ridge, and, it doesn't explode as we were expecting it to, but we presume both these guys are dead.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. It was rolling down the cliff after... It wasn't really Thunderbird 1. I don't think the Thunderbirds had killed anyone. At worst it's manslaughter, but,
Maybe.
They shot the car, but it was the guys wrestling over the steering wheel, mainly, because they go straight off the edge. And I remember watching it, and it was rolling down the cliff, and I was just waiting for it to go boom. I was like, watch it go boom! Didn't go boom.
This is Scott pretty much saying to them, you mess with one of us, you mess with us all.
Yeah, it's very much like Perils of Penelope, in that, it's not anyone else who's in danger, it's really just a member of International Rescue, and so it's them helping themselves.
This also reminded me a little bit of the film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, very vaguely, because at the beginning, Hunter S. Thompson is looking after, he's covering the Indy 500 in Nevada, and since that's in a desert, I was reminded of the desert there as well. So this is a little bit like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, minus all the drugs and the sex and the guns and everything. But
I was reminded of Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, mainly.
So all these amazing, racing films that we've seen, they reminded us of that, like Rush, which came out recently.
Rush as well, yeah.
And it was interesting, that this is where Grandma seems to join International Rescue, because none of these episodes are in chronological order, so she must have joined in at some time or other. And they say early on that Alan retired from race driving about a year in the past, so maybe International Rescue's been going for at least a year, and now Jeff has invited his mother to join them.
Maybe once she got, after that traumatic experience on the bridge, maybe she's like, I'm never getting off this fucking island again. Just fuck that.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine if she wakes up one day and says, oh my god, don't tell me I'm still on that feckin' island.
She's not Irish.
Oh, just a nice little
For fuck's sake, Mrs. Brown's Boys. Mrs. Tracy's Boys, that'd be a brilliant sitcom.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine if, say, Jeff goes missing and they turn into a dysfunctional family. How do we know that's not what's happening in the one that's being broadcast already?
We'll have to do some vlogs on that one if that's the case.
Maybe.
I liked the set design of it all as well, like the setting. Like, we've seen a lot of Thunderbirds episodes where it takes place in the desert landscape, but, with the Mexican eel and the cars as well, the car racing. The cars are quite futuristically designed. I remember looking at Alan's car that he's got and thinking, okay, not only is it red, which is an obviously callback to Thunderbird 3, but it kind of reminded me of the Spectrum Saloon from Captain Scarlet, the main red car that all of the Spectrum agents drive, before they upgrade to the SPV, of course.
Yes, it's a kind of it must have been some kind of prototype that they must have used later on, because that came out afterwards. So it kind of, maybe if they are existing in the same universe, maybe Spectrum did borrow a lot of ideas off the International Rescue, perhaps. Or
maybe they hired brains. Maybe after International Rescue disbanded, they hired brains to design the Angels and all of the SPVs and whatnot.
Yes, because you do see him designing the Zero X, which was actually what took Captain Black and the other agents Spectrum agents up to Mars. Who were hence in the first episode of Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, but that's a completely different story.
Maybe Brains got really carried away and he built Cloud Base. He was like, I can build anything! And he built this I'm going to build a massive fuck-off flying thing. It's like,
yeah, something that can keep them up in the sky. Something better than the Fire Flash or anything.
But yeah, no, it was a great episode. Very different because of all the racing and whatnot, and the fact that it's told completely in flashback. Very small, very personal episode. The ending is hilarious with where we're introduced to Virgil and who's a man of many talents. He can play the piano, and we find out in this episode that he can paint. And not only can he paint, but he can paint incredible abstract paintings. I mean, Alan doesn't necessarily see the funny side of it, but
no, he's not much of a cubist or surrealist or whatever.
No, but Virgil's a great artist, as we're shown at the end of this episode. But I wonder what makes me think what other talents he's got up his sleeve that we yet to see.
Yes, well, you never know. He seems to be like the artistic one, whereas Alan is easily seen in this one to be the sporty one, because we've been debating which
brother. You've got John as the loner, Gordon as the goofball, Alan's the sporty one, Virgil's the artistic one, and I guess it leaves Scott as the Leonardo of the group, or maybe he's just the wise ass.
But there was another thing about this episode we haven't mentioned yet, and that's the kind of romantic intentions, or the kind of the chemistry that's bubbling between Tintin and Alan, because you can see in most of it she's crying because she wants him to be safe, and
genuine concern for her beau who's stuck on that bridge.
And just after they drop him off for the race, Tintin says, "Oh, I'd love to be with him, just for company," and you get Virgil looking like,
"I just wish I was going with him, well, to keep him company,
Yeah, I know."
Yeah. Oh yeah, there is that scene where he's just like, "You're talking about my brother, my youngest brother, no less."
Yeah, so many jokes we can make about it now that we've all grown up.
Yeah. But no, great episode. I think the next one is the Duchess assignment, where we see it's another Lady Penelope themed one, and we see her hilarious older friend who's a duchess, and she's got something of a gambling addiction. But we'll come to it. Very good episode, very funny episode. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll see you next week then.
FAB.
FAB.